Where are tens of thousands of people who are illegally crossing the border from safe spaces like upstate New York into Canada going to go? Today, Justin Trudeau's Minister of Nobody Reports to Him, Bill Blair, was in Toronto to try and answer that question, and he miserably failed. What Bill Blair did today in Toronto, on stage with Toronto Mayor John Tory, was announce $11 million to put people who have illegally crossed the border into hotels for an undefined period of time. To me, that's ridiculous. Further, Mayor John Tory, during this press conference, told reporters that this was, quote, the first installment of many installments. And then when Bill Blair was asked how he could possibly plan a long-term solution for this or what he was planning to do in the long term, he danced around the question and went back to the answer of hotels. This is unacceptable. Now, Mayor John Tory was on stage today after, you'll remember after Justin Trudeau's #Welcome to Canada tweet, which precipitated most of this crisis. He sent out this press statement which talks about how he was standing behind Justin Trudeau and how Toronto was ready to welcome newcomers. And then he had a press conference, a very glossy press conference that talked about how Toronto was a sanctuary city. That may be all and well and good, but is it really reasonable to have tens of thousands of people who have already reached the safety of spaces like upstate New York be housed in hotels in the Greater Toronto Area and places like Markham for an undefined period of time? I would say that that answer is no. It's a very clear no. And I think it's very irresponsible for Justin Trudeau to be standing up and talking about spending tens of millions of dollars on hotels for people who have illegally crossed the border from the United States and then claimed asylum after already having reached there for a long period of time. Now, I want to show you something. You'll notice that $11 million, it was actually announced by Justin Trudeau's immigration minister, Ahmad Hussein, in July, just a few short weeks ago. You'll notice that the only thing that's changed today is the face on the announcement. So instead of having Hussein come out and talk about the $11 million, it's now Bill Blair, who doesn't have anybody report to him or frankly any authority to come up with a long-term plan for this. Also, we don't understand why the Trudeau government, as announced by Bill Blair today, is creating a permanent station in Cornwall to take people who are illegally crossing the border at Roxham Road at the Quebec government's request into Ontario on buses and then busing them to hotels in the Greater Toronto Area. Is this the best way to deal with people who are coming into our country? Is this the best use of taxpayer dollars? Again, I would firmly and strongly say that the answer is no. The other thing that I learned today through documents that were provided to our Citizenship and Immigration Committee is that refugees that are in Canada with a valid asylum claim, so refugees who had, let's say, been in a UNHCR camp and had been vetted by the United Nations and then, let's say, privately sponsored by Canadians who had raised funds to bring them into Canada. If they wanted to bring family members to Canada through a program called the 1 year window of opportunity, that processing time is 30 months right now. 30 months. Over 2 years. So that suggests that there's a huge backlog of people trying to come into Canada who are humanitarian refugees through that program. And then all of a sudden, per the Anchor refugee story that we broke yesterday, people who have illegally crossed the border into Canada from the United States and then claimed asylum, their family members who are in the United States could cross later today or tomorrow and have a valid permit. And to me, that's how do you even plan for that? Look, my party leader, Andrew Scheer, has been very clear. I've been very clear. A Conservative government would immediately seek to close the loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement because we don't feel that it's reasonable for people to be crossing the border in such numbers after reaching safe spaces like upstate New York. And this isn't just a Conservative philosophy. In fact, it was a former Liberal government in 2002 that actually negotiated the Safe Third Country Agreement after they saw huge spikes in numbers that were coming across the border. And it was actually former Liberal Deputy Prime Minister John Manley who talked about the Safe Third Country Agreement being put in place to prevent asylum shopping. And again, by Justin Trudeau's minister's own admissions, many of these people crossing at Roxham Road are not likely to have valid asylum claims. But what is Trudeau doing to address that issue? He's appointed a minister of nothing to change the face on this issue. And then he has allocated tens of millions of dollars and future asylum claim or future installment payments to people who will need to be put up in hotels. That's not sustainable, and that's not a plan. That's ridiculous. I think what a lot of people who have declared sanctuary cities, who have made press statements, Justin Trudeau here taking pictures with refugees at an airport, are learning that it's more than just hashtag welcome to Canada. When you invite the world to our country, you have to have budgetary plans to deal with it, and you have to have Canadian support behind you. And frankly, this poll today shows that many of you don't support what Justin Trudeau is doing. And frankly, I share your concerns on this issue. Now, when Bill Blair, the Minister of I'm not sure what today, announced or was asked by a reporter how he felt about this polling data that came out today, which I encourage you to read, his response was slightly troubling. He said Canadians are misinformed. They're uninformed. So instead of trying to address this concern by closing the loophole at the Safe Third Country Agreement, you've got this new spin doctor that Justin Trudeau has appointed as minister trying to spin the issue and basically saying that you're wrong. I think what we need to do is immediately pressure the Trudeau Liberals, as I have been doing, as our party leader have been doing for 18 months, trying to get him to close the loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement. Really, I cannot believe that their response is to throw more money at this. Throwing more money at this issue will never solve this issue. All it is going to do is to exacerbate the problem and encourage people to make this journey. It's just going to keep creating homeless shelter issues. It's going to keep creating backlogs at the Immigration Refugee Board, and then they're going to keep coming to you over and over and over again, telling you that they need tens of millions of dollars to prioritize hotel rooms for people who have illegally crossed the border, and that is wrong. It is not planned. It is not orderly. It's not compassionate. It needs to stop. Justin Trudeau, you need to close the loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement, and many Canadians feel the same way. Working hard for you in Calgary. Have a great day.